All right, we're live. Jared and Dave here at the Twill Happy Hour. We've got Nicholas Mitchell on with us. He is running to unseat Chris Stewart in congressional seat 2. We had Nick on, what was that, about 6 months ago, 5 months ago?
It was about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a while.
At that time, he was challenging for the Senate seat, but you switched play and went for the congressional seat. So
yeah,
go ahead and lay out for us. Why'd you switch to the congressional, and then kind of what do you hope to achieve? What's your challenging talking point? So go ahead, Nick, take it away.
okay. Yeah, the reason why I apologize for my voice. I'm a little bit underneath the weather. So why I decided to change was I thought Kel was a better candidate than I was. He was ready for the spotlight, and he had a good platform and was doing things I couldn't do. And so I made the decision like, hey, Chris Stewart is just like Mike Lee in a sense. And so we need somebody strong to go after him as well. And so I said, that person's me. And I jumped down and I don't like saying move down the ballot, but I switched to running to U.S. House Representatives Congressional District 2.
So what is it that you're hoping to achieve? What are, in your mind, what are Chris Stewart's? Now, one more question. Now, is Kale still in the running, or I heard that the Democrat Party gave the nod and backed McMullen?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. They decided not to put up a Democratic candidate and to back Evan McMullen's campaign.
We've had Kale on the show a few times. We both really like him. He's a good guy.
Yeah, he is.
Now, granted, we both have. I personally think that the Democrat Party is, well, let's face it, the Democrat Party wants to put all solutions in the hand of government, and government is a notorious failure at every turn. So I'm not a fan of the Democrat Party, but I do like Kale. And just a personal note for me to Kale, I'm quite bummed out that they dropped him and backed McMullen when Kale has been kind of he's been how should I say it, an honorable subject of theirs for many years.
And I myself, I would vote for Kale over McMullen any day, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I would trip over myself to vote for Kale over McMullen. And we've had them both on, and it's not that I dislike McMullen. I just think Kale is more earnest, I think, is in my feeling. But anyways, sorry to sidetrack you there, but go on. What do you think are the shortcomings of Stewart that you kind of want to rectify?
He doesn't, how do I say this? I'm trying to think of the political way to say this, but I'm just going to go out and say it. He doesn't care about his constituents. He doesn't listen to what they have to say. When, this whole, which is, it's out in your neck of the woods, this whole ERDA movement to make the inland port that the people aren't really for, they're against it. The water's not there for high density infrastructure.
I don't think any of that's out here. I think that's all in the Salt Lake County, isn't it?
ERDA is a party to Willow, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, ERDA is, but ERDA, the inland port doesn't land in ERDA, does it? I thought everything on that was up by the airport.
I hope it doesn't come to ERDA.
I read somewhere I thought it was coming to ERDA.
There was a blurb about the Romney group trying to get some of that action out here, I do believe. Kind of like a satellite of the inland port system.
That's what it was. That's what it was.
I kind of hope we get it. We need more commercial stuff out here. We're going to drown under taxes if we don't get commercial. We're growing, and all we're doing is growing residential. So you're essentially going to get sucked dry on property taxes. You're going to have no commercial.
Or we just do away with public schools, and that will reduce our taxes. And we can keep our water.
Coming from the back 40, Dave. I like it. All right. Anyways, go on. So So you're saying he doesn't listen to his constituents now,
Yeah.
and granted, that would be a severe argument, definitely, if he didn't. But isn't there an opposite side of constituents that want to see more commerce out here?
Yeah, there's. I'm not sure how big that group is. But from what I read, people weren't really wanting this. Well, I guess they were, from the point of view that I read, was a little bit different. That that people didn't want it. The majority, didn't want it, but there might be a small majority that does.
Yeah, and I guess obviously where you're not in that seat, you wouldn't know the exacts on that. So
Yeah.
But anyway, so
Let me ask you this, Mitchell. We have an upcoming show about how partially the Republican Party is supporting the sugar cartels and raising the price of sugar artificially, causing all of, I don't know if you've noticed, but all of our food has corn syrup in it. Are you aware of that?
Yeah, high fructose corn syrup. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So where would you stand on the farm bill if it were up to you to vote? Would you continue to subsidize the sugar growers in America and prevent imports of sugar from afar, or would you say open the markets and let's let the free market determine if we have corn syrup or not?
I'm all for competitive markets. I think competition breeds better business practices, better business for all. So I'm for opening up the markets and sending in, not necessarily subsidizing sugar anymore.
Yeah, good for you. I would totally get on that bandwagon. And in fact, I hope you can use that as ammunition in your campaign against the Republican Party. Even though I'm a Republican, I like to shoot across the bow because they are involved with that communist system of liquid communism corn syrup. And I want it out of my foods for sure.
Yeah, high fructose corn syrup isn't exactly healthy either.
No.
Yeah, it isn't exactly, as putting it gently.
I would say that our artificial sugar system probably kills more people than angry 18-year-olds with assault rifles.
Yeah, because diabetes. But are we going to be touching on this subject of assault rifles today?
Go for it.
Sure, yeah, hit it.
Yeah, I've like I said before, I have I'm a gun owner. I think that assault rifles need to be banned. I really do. I think that they're meant for a place of war, and they have no rights being in the hands of these 18-year-old kids or even anybody. To be honest, it has to do with the caliber size. It's not really a home defense weapon. No army's going to be coming in trying to take you out.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Well, how can he guarantee me?
I've got to interrupt a couple of things here, because Australia proved to us with their opening up of gulags, and I know that some of our governors in this nation would have loved to have opened up those same gulags.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them did, but the armed states, it wasn't even an option. Now, another question. Here's the big question for anyone who wants to ban, and I don't use the word assault rifle because assault is a verb. An assault rifle is any rifle, which rifle is a rifled barrel that spins the bullet as it comes out to God.
Yeah.
That's a verb. So I don't like how language is muddied.
Okay.
But let's say you ban them.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
It looks like
no one ever talks about this. What does that look like on the ground?
On the ground, we'd have to do a buy. No one wants to talk about it. We'd have to do a buyback program.
No, it would be violence. It would be civil war in the streets.
I can see how people come to think that the big badlets are going to come take their guns. But I think if you can provide me with some specific instances where, an assault rifle would have helped the situation instead of harmed it, I'm all ears. But
where I could,
assault,
okay, again, an assault rifle, that's a verb rifle.
what would you like to do?
You mean like an AR or an AK, correct?
An AR or an AK, I mean, yeah.
I would prefer you say high capacity, removable box magazine weapon system instead of assault rifle. Pick your word, or just rifle. Assault rifle is a verb. That's like my assault pickup truck. My pickup truck could easily be every bit as deadly as any weapon system I own.
That's true.
Now, but here's what does banning them look like? Because a buyback won't work. All you're going to be doing is making well-meaning, honest, and innocent people criminals overnight. So what does banning
Jared,
them
I would
look like?
disagree. If he were to offer me 4 times the amount of money that my weapon system was worth, I bet you I might even be tempted
to give up your property rights and your means of defense?
to go out to the lake and try to find where that assault rifle was dumped overboard.
I don't think so. I don't think it would work, and I don't think it would work. First of all, let's face it. Most of the nation who buys weapon systems are people who are not destitute.
That's also correct.
So buybacks wouldn't work. Buybacks wouldn't work. You've got collectors, you've got crazies, you've got all the spectrum. So a buyback wouldn't work on either of those models.
Also,
I agree that we should be going and kicking on doors and taking guns.
That's what it would have to be. It would have to be. They would have to first of all make the law, and then implement any means they can to violate the Fifth Amendment, so that they can add to that law. So your dog's barking or you get a noise complaint during a party, the police would want to breach that Fifth Amendment to enter your home and inspect. They would have to want to catch you at some other criminal cause, because if they start just going door to door, sure, they'll do fine in Watertown, Massachusetts. But what happens when they hit Evanston, Wyoming?
Yeah.
Or Northern Colorado, or Steamboat Springs, Colorado, or Tooele, Utah?
Jared, I disagree. I don't think they would bother with those areas. What they're going to look for are the cities where you have. I honestly,
where it's already illegal
where
to own?
they would start with minority type populations
Where it's already illegal to own.
pretty much.
So they would go into where it's already illegal, try to round up the weapon systems that are already illegal. But if they want to disarm us,
then they would stop selling bullets in the store.
They have to end up out here.
Yeah, there's ways to do it. I'm sure it would be a slow process.
Well, no, sure, there's ways to do it, but are there ways that aren't a bloodbath?
No,
that's what I'm saying.
When it comes to certain people, no, they'll die before they give up their AR.
And it's not about the AR, and that's where I think
the Second Amendment, right?
It's not even about the Second Amendment, and this is where I think the left, maybe not the left, where the Democrat Party gets it wrong. It's about holding the government back.
Okay.
And that's what it's about. Look what happened in Australia. Look at what's happening in China. When they're in Australia, they're rounding people up and throwing them in gulags.
Actually, they're starting to use microwave weapons on the protesters.
And then in China, they're literally welding your door shut. Yeah. Now, we've had instances here in the United States where things like that has happened, but only in unarmed cities. Watertown, Massachusetts.
New Orleans was not an unarmed city.
It became unarmed after the National Guard, after they rounded up, after either everyone fled, and then they went house to house confiscating weapons. But Watertown, after the Boston bombing, they went door to door, but that was in an unarmed state. That couldn't have happened.
When you say unarmed, do you mean by population standard, or do you mean completely unarmed?
By law.
New York, right? Watertown, New York? Is that what you're talking about?
I was thinking that was New Jersey.
No, it was Watertown, Massachusetts, after the Boston bombing.
Yeah.
And the police went door to door and violated the Fifth Amendment up and down that street. So how does that?
If it was a law already in the
Sure.
on the state level, that means the federal can't, they can't do anything about it.
Sure. Technically they can 14th Amendment and reverse that law if the Supreme Court opts to do that.
Which won't happen.
I don't know. It's kind of looking. I mean, if Roe versus Wade gets chopped.
Goes. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If Roe versus Wade goes.
Now, I'm a 10th Amendment guy. If a state wants to be a disarmed state, I'm all for it. If the populace of a state wants to be a disarmed state, I'm all for it. If New York and New Jersey and Massachusetts and all that want to be disarmed, I'm all for it. I want the 10th Amendment to reign free. I just don't want another state to try to pressure me to live by their life and means.
Try to impose their will on you. And I can understand that. But, I just think about the kids that are afraid to go to school. I mean, I got a son, and I'm terrified to have him go to school because, no one thought that in Uvalde, Texas, that there could be a mass shooter.
I'm sure, but have you looked into
homeschooling,
the failures around that school as to why that happened?
Nick, homeschool your kid, man.
I thought about it actually, but just don't have the time to do it.
Have you looked into the failures around that school? Because I'm not saying it'll be easy and painless, but there are SOPs you can follow to keep schools safe.
I thought like the unlock back door
where a teacher propped it open.
Yeah.
Is that what happened
today?
Yeah, that's how he gained access.
Jeez.
Yeah.
How about you buy a SWAT team that
held back and didn't go in,
that doesn't do anything and waits until some off-duty border control agents show that their balls have dropped.
Nick, if I was there with my assault rifle,
and actually,
if I was there with my assault rifle, the police would have stopped me from taking action and going.
They would have tased you. And actually,
they were pushing back parents while the shit was still in the.
They tased one parent, from what I understand.
Where'd you hear that?
I don't know.
There's a video.
It's in random.
There's a video.
Yeah, but here's the next question that you asked just a second ago. If you heard of good with an assault weapon, it was an Armalite platform that took out that shooter.
Yeah.
So there you go. I think the United States has a mental health problem. Our families are destroyed. Our government works to further destroy those families by incentivizing mothers that have children without fathers. They incentivize that. And if you incentivize how easy it is for you guys, for a young couple to get on welfare when they're married, and how easy is it for a single mother to get on assistance?
Yeah, but I feel like has to do with
Sure, but can't we lean more incentive towards, hey, you marry the father and you guys build a good household, we'll give you more. Couldn't we do that?
But if it's a defunct relationship, how can you force them to be with each other if they don't want to be together?
Well, then how about they don't make babies together if it's a defunct relationship?
I mean, things happen inside the relationship that we can't really judge.
Sure, but we used to not have these issues, and culturally we enforced relationships. Do you think maybe there's a correlation there? Because we had guns then. Hell, and back then you could own fully automatic weapons prior to
1994.
44.
The machine gun.
Clinton.
No, FDR.
44. Oh,
but culturally, you couldn't get a divorce. You could, but it was frowned upon.
Plus, and you wouldn't have like teen pregnancies like you would today, I don't think, because the parents were always like right there on top of you or separating you from your date. You know what I mean?
But anyways, we want to go on to. Let's do
healthcare.
I just got a side note. Sorry to side note you. The gun issue is a big one for me. I think that's how we paint the streets with blood. That's just my opinion.
I can definitely see that happening in some communities where it would be, death or my gun.
Well, it's not just that, but reflect on this. We have more guns than people in this country.
Yeah. Like I have 3 guns. I don't need them.
I once upon a time had upwards of 40 until I took them fishing.
What do you mean you took them fishing?
They fell. I went to the Rod and Gun Club. The boat flipped. They went to the bottom of the river.
Gone.
In case the ATF is asking. But that's something to reflect on.
So what about healthcare, Nick?
Yeah.
I think I remember watching one of your videos. You're saying, hey, healthcare for all. And I'm thinking, well, okay. My thought process on that is, if I have free healthcare, then I have to get free service. That means somebody has to work for free. How does that work? Tell me how you plan to implement a policy like that.
With the policy with healthcare for all. Sorry, 1 second. With the policy like healthcare for all, we talk about taxing the rich and basically giving to the poor, and through taxation, which I know you're not gonna like, we can make a bigger headway into universal healthcare. I know it's not going to be a right away, like all of a sudden we have universal healthcare. We need to build up a system to where we can say, hey, we have the ability now to give out free healthcare. We should do that, and that's through building up revenue with the government and having them do it. I mean, Canada's system's pretty good, and if we emulate that, we should be fine. We pay higher taxes, but when the time comes where you need healthcare, you can get it. It won't be as expensive or be free.
Let me ask you this, Nick. I mean, when we're talking about government healthcare, I'm curious. Like, if I get an issue and I need a new kidney, currently with our legal system, our system, I go on a list and I wait and I hope and I pray.
Yeah.
Now,
Unless you're rich.
No, not necessarily.
Unless you have the money to go out and buy yourself a new kidney or something like that.
Would you be okay with that, though? Are you okay with that? So all these Chinese kidneys are just are rotting on the ground where they shoot the Chinese people. Should I be able to, as an American citizen, be able to buy one of those kidneys instead of letting it rot on the ground?
I mean, you're talking the Sinn Féin.
I mean, that's a double. That's a hard question to answer because
it's a very hard question, and that's
because they were just murdered by the government. And no, I don't think that people need to have the right to say whether or not their organs go inside another human.
So you're saying the government should prevent people from remarketing themselves into a new kidney through China?
If the person selling the kidney per se, it was like, yes, I'll give you my kidney, then yeah, I'm okay with it.
We've got that echo back real heavy again.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, so play with that as we talk. My question with that is the Affordable Care Act.
Mm-hmm.
The Affordable Care Act made healthcare neither affordable nor more available, even though that was its promise.
Well, I mean, how many people signed up this year for the ACA?
Well, it's because the government is not a machine known for success.
Yeah.
Oh, that echo's gone right there.
Good job.
Whatever you did, hold it right there.
Okay.
Let's pray to the gods of tech. But no, the Affordable Care Act is a god awful failure.
Well, what do you think about it, Mitch? Do you think it's a success or do you think it's a failure from what you've observed?
I think some of it is a success, and I think some of it is definitely has some room for improvement, namely medication prices. If we're talking about Medicaid, they have the ability to negotiate prices, and private healthcare companies do not. And so So if we have to kind of split them up and divide it between private insurance that are subsidized by the government and government-run programs.
That echo came right back.
Well, let me ask you this about the medication prices. So should I be able to buy medications from other countries at their rate and have them shipped to me? Or should I go to jail for that, which is the current system?
I mean, if you're getting opiates, that's illegal. So again, it kind of depends on the depends on
I'm
the
talking.
drugs that you're getting.
I'm only talking about legal prescription drugs that, let's say, Viagra or cholesterol meds that are really expensive in America but really cheap in Canada, or EpiPens are a big factor right now, I believe.
Yeah. I think if you can get them cheap, like I said earlier, I'm all for a free market. I think free markets are great. It drives the competition. I mean, if you can go to, say, Canada and get cheaper medication, that's going to force the big pharma to bring down their prices so that the insurances will then say, hey, we will pay for your medicine because the price went down.
Well, let me ask you this. Now, the ACA is, and play with your microphone again real quick. The ACA is the opposite of free markets. It's the opposite of any markets.
Yeah.
It's written by the pharmaceutical companies and then signed off by the government, which governments, monopolies can only almost ever exist. There's rare times they can exist without government enforcement.
Yeah.
Governments make monopolies. I mean, look at our the baby formula. That's a government forced monopoly that failed. And so that's where we're standing. And every year that the government gets more involved in our healthcare, it gets more expensive and less available every time.
Mm-hmm.
And it almost never gets safer. There are two places the government tends to stay out of. And granted, they're still expensive, but their price drops every year and their safety goes up. And that's LASIK eye surgery and boob jobs. Those are the two places that we get better healthcare year after year. The only two.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because the government doesn't regulate or get involved in it.
And it makes it a competitive market, but in a single payer market, the big pharma only has a choice to go through either that single payer market and actually talk about the prices, then versus, say, a private market where they can collude with each other and artificially drive up prices like the corn syrup.
Well, it's not just collude with each other, but the government won't let competing markets arise.
Yeah, and we need to have competing markets. I'm all for free economy, but when it comes to certain things, I don't think it should be for profit. And healthcare is one of those things. I think it needs to be nonprofit organization.
How do you nonprofit new medication?
I'm not saying exactly nonprofit, but I'm saying like the idea of a nonprofit where they're not having to answer to board members, different owners of the company wanting more and more revenue.
You know, Hans Hermann Hoppe wrote about this, and he says you do away with that and we get no new medications. Our technology dies that day. The U.S.
If you do away with what, Jared?
If you do away with inventing medication for profit, because no one's going to take that chance. No one's going to take that cost. No one's going to fight those regulations.
And that's another part of my platform that I talk about actually on my website is extending the life of a patent so they can make more money over the long haul instead of the 20 years that I think it's 20 years.
But
they can stretch it out to say 40 years so they can make more money over the long term instead of the short term and trying to profit off of the backs of the American people.
So you want to lean in the complete other way and extend the monopoly.
Not the monopoly.
Well, that's what extending the patent is extending the monopoly, government forced monopoly.
No, the company would have the patent, so they would be able to say, okay, this is how much we spent, this is how much we need to recoup, and this right here is what we're doing.
Wouldn't it be better if you put down where they do an itemized on their on their study, they do an itemization and the government enforces, they get to double that, then the patent dies.
Yeah, that's also a great idea.
And they may double it that year. And then all of a sudden cost of stuff plummets and become competitive.
That's a perfectly good, that's a great example. I actually like that. You can double their money.
I think anytime
the generics can come in and make generics. I actually really like that idea.
I think anytime you can pull the government, we need to separate government and money, government and economy, because we're in a mess, and all that mess points to government, every bit of it.
Hey, Nick, do you know how to make a Bitcoin transaction?
I mean, they have apps for it now, but back in the day, I dabbled in Bitcoin transactions.
Cool. I like it. What do you think of cryptocurrency? Is that something you would support, or are you more of a centralized bank enforcement kind of guy?
I think crypto is great in theory, but it got hijacked by the rich. And, I know that it's a decentralized currency, but we need to have a centralized currency to be a country. I mean, when something is traded on the value of itself, how is that supposed to continue and make it a profitable or a centralized currency? Because if you're saying that you want, to decentralize the American currency and make crypto the centralized currency, you're just kind of shifting the centralized currency over to the crypto instead of the American dollar, which is backed by the government and not some random person trading on online.
I have a lot to say about what our currency is backed by. Our currency is backed by our military's ability
the government
to keep people in line.
That's what I said, backed by the government.
And then we wonder when we become this militarized, violent culture who enforces our will around the world, and we wonder why that comes home. And we have young men who do what happened in Texas.
Yeah.
And so it's just food for thought. I think you can go either way with that, and not any outcome is perfect. But I think that if we have a militarized government, not just a militarized, but a militarized community in whole, and the news and every night, and we've got to take violence to this new country, and we've got to supply arms to this other country, and we got to do all that. And then we wonder why violence is the only thing that is held up in our culture. I think we've missed the mark.
Well, I definitely think violence is bringing violence from being, I'm not sure how, can you say how you worded that again? I liked it.
We have a violent culture. Our culture bleeds violence from the top. If our government feels like they've been snubbed, what do? I mean, we've got Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, Syria, the Yemen, Chad, Somalia. We've got Eastern Europe now.
Yeah.
Where are we at? We have no diplomacy in our government. Our Department of Defense hasn't defended a damn thing except its paycheck in 70 years.
Yeah. And I can see how I can see the point that you're making. And our country culture is one based on violence. I think that it has something to do with it. But also, people having access to these weapons, these weapon systems.
Well, isn't it Sweden where they get issued better weapon systems than our average person has access to?
Swiss.
Or is it's the Switzerland. But they're not involved in any wars. They're not having any issues.
Yeah.
That's a lot to think about, a lot to chew on. But I want to ask you another question. This is the one that gets real uncomfortable for all the Republicans out there, because I am not a Republican.
You're a constitutionalist, right?
Anarchist, straight up. What's your thoughts on the war on drugs?
It was a policy put in place to, enslave Black people into this new modern slavery. It's the war on drugs. There is no real war on drugs. If we just made everything legal, there wouldn't be a war to have. And we can look at places like Spain, and I forget there's another country that
Portugal.
I think in South America, that made everything legal.
Portugal, and Mexico has decriminalized everything under the table.
Have they really?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mexico did about 5 years ago, I think.
You might want to look on that one twice.
Oh, they go after cartels still. They don't go after users.
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. The people that are using the drugs are not supplying them, but we make it so they have clean harm reduction. They have clean needles and things like that, because they can go to the pharmacy, grab their crystal meth, however much they want to pay for it, and then they can go do their crystal meth, but they still have a day job.
Well, and also doctors can give them substitutes for crystal meth.
Yeah.
Doctors can figure out how to wean them off it. And they've done away with their, the bloodborne pathogens since then. They've done away with ODs. ODs are gone. Yeah, imagine. Yeah, imagine. And they give them that character back. I like it. I like that part. Yeah, we can just say we lost the drug war. Well, let's do what Biden did. Well, just pull out in the middle of the night. We're done with the drug war.
That was an interesting couple of weeks, to say the least.
I think leaving Afghanistan was correct. The timing and the means were asinine.
Yeah, that's how I basically feel the same way.
Yeah,
we needed to get out, but it needed to be done right.
Yeah, I mean, done right would have been what do you think? 2002, maybe January 2002. We defeated anything Al Qaeda in there, chased them into Pakistan. We should have left then. But aside from that, maybe a formal pullout where we actually, and then you can't lay it all at Biden, because I'm sure he had our Joint Chiefs saying, "Oh yeah, the
Army will hold up.
Yeah, they'll do just fine there." And we left, and they just went, "All right, we're going home."
We're going home,
and I don't blame them. I don't blame them. Yeah, because we pulled out all the logistics, we pulled out all the intelligence, so they were essentially going back to fighting the Taliban on the Taliban's terms and the Taliban's turf. And that's a losing proposition. So,
So Nick, we've had you on for 30 minutes. Is there any last issues you want to talk about? Yeah. Close us out, buddy.
I'm just excited where the campaign's headed. Again, I'm sorry for my voice. It's always a pleasure to be on with you guys, enlightening me to new ideas and things like that. Like you said, they double their money, and then generics can come in. I think we need to continue to work together as a country to help build this country up and become a melting pot of ideas, because no one idea is right. But if we combine ideas, then that's where we make true progress. So I really appreciate you guys taking the time to meet with me today, and it's been a pleasure.
Get your voice back and come back on.
I definitely will.
Get your voice back, and we'll wrestle on this show again. As soon as you get it back, just let us know.
All right, that sounds good. Thank you so much.
All right, buddy.
All right, hey.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. This is Nick. Thank him for coming on. He's a good dude. So for all our Democrat fans, this is your guy right now.
And Nick, if you have any other Democrat friends out there who are running and they want to just get some airtime, we definitely want to have Democrats on. We've had way too many Republicans on.
Yeah. Well,
and we want to try to balance the scales out. Because it's all about fairness and equality when it comes to campaigning. We all got to see from each angle.
Yeah. Bring them on.
Yeah. I'll talk to some of them and see if they want to come on.
Perfect. Tell them, we might hit them a little hard, but we'll try to be gentle.
But it's always a good time.
We'll try to use some lube. All right, man. Hey, you take her easy. We'll talk to you later.
All right. Sounds good.
Have a good one.
Bye.